Number 3, monsters are real. This is our first truly challenging notation. There's a lot of improvisation necessary in order to make this one work. It's also written with cell notation. So there's some stuff to talk about in here. Let's share the screen so you can watch along. Here's the viola noble version. And as you can see here, there's our track cue. So if we play the track, you can hear that very creepy chord. These aren't real notes in the notation, it's just describing that eerie, hair-raising cluster. Basically, we've fallen into a cave and we see a real monster. Imagine actually seeing a real monster. That would be scary. So this etude is all about terror and adrenaline, and how do we communicate that in our sound? So right now, I'm going to try and talk through this as we go. There's no tempo. There's no time. This creepy, screechy, scratchy sound is the bug sounds, and it builds, and eventually, right now, we're gonna be in tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our tempo. You can repeat this cell. You can continue the pattern upwards. The notes are not really that important as long as you're staying with the track. I recommend listening for that hi-hat. That'll tell you where the 8th notes are. And now we've just reached bar 8. Well, it's called bar 8. And now we're back into atmospheric, out of tempo. These random pitch and tremolos we will talk about in a second. I just want to get you the form of this track. So again, it's atmospheric. How can we convince the listener that we're just hiding? We're hiding from this monster. We're terrified. So these are the sounds that we can play here. And in a few more seconds, you'll hear it build up to, once again, tempo. Fighting for your life, and it's really fast. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that's telling you what the tempo is. All the other sounds are kind of extraneous to the tempo. So again, here you can follow the pattern. You can make up your own pattern. The notes are not really that important as long as you're staying in tempo and you're convincing the listener that you're running for your life. There is a demo version of this in the demo playthrough. And this whole etude follows the same pattern of no tempo, tempo, no tempo, tempo. And in a second, we're gonna get to the no tempo once again. So now we're back in atmospheric zone. This whole thing is one section, one bar. You get to choose your own adventure. So are you gonna join the super screechy, creepy high notes? Are you gonna do bug sounds? You're gonna do the random tremolo? And this reverse attack we'll talk about in a second. And etc. Once we get back into tempo, this is the last wave. You've got an option to improvise a solo. How cool is that? So here's the sound that you hear, and then we've already done these two. So you've got 2 new options there. Okay, so hopefully you caught on a little bit there. I would recommend that in order to really master this etude, you listen to the track a lot, because what you're essentially learning how to do is take audio cues from, let's call them players or musicians or sounds outside of what you're doing, and react and respond to them. So this is teaching you chamber music skills. It's teaching you how to learn basically like a chart, sort of. It's teaching you form, and you kind of have to start learning about how long these sections are. As I didn't write them out, I wrote cell notation. So that is part of the etude. That's the challenge there. And string players that are most often used to looking at the page will find this one challenging, especially those who have never improvised before. But it can be a really fun chance to play some sounds that you're normally not allowed to play in orchestra or in your lessons. So let's talk about the sounds themselves. Trembling in fear. Like creepy bugs, move fingers and bow as fast as possible. This is a very common sound in horror music, like in horror movie cinema soundtracks. You can do it anywhere on your instrument, on any string, but essentially you're just going to play 1, tremolo, 2, ponticello, and 3, move your fingers fast in any pattern. There's no pattern. They're not really notes. It's not about the notes. It's about creating that sense of bugs crawling all over you. If you do it low, if you do it high, if you get a whole room of string players doing this, it's really creepy, and they're going to love doing it. That's that sound. Running for your life, this cell notation. So at first glance, ad lib slow ascent in pitch using note pattern. So what does that mean? It's a little bit up to you. This is one of those things that you're going to have to choose. What I would probably do is just repeat the cell. Just go. Over and over again until you can master how long that section is to end on time for the next out of time section. So if you wanted to ad lib slow ascent in pitch, you might go up it chromatically. Again, the notes are not important in this etude. Hiding in fear, bar 8, random pitch and rhythm tremolo. Let's talk about that. So these are note suggestions. They're not real notes. They have X note head notations. It just implies like, again, the notes are really not important. What's important is the forte piano, the accent. We want to create a harsh, jarring, not gentle, violent sound, because when you're scared, it's primal. It's a primal feeling. So what I would do is I would, again, go real ponticello. I would go, that's not written there. That's just a choice I've made because I think it makes it sound scarier. And I would pull pretty hard for the first one and then go as quiet as I can. So let's just say I'm going to do it on open D. Again, if you get a whole group of string players doing that, it's very creepy. They will have to listen to each other because they're probably going to want to do it a lot. They're probably going to just end up playing really loud. And the important part is the difference between the forte and the piano, the sudden decrease in dynamic. So you can apply that same bow technique to random notes. Try and find intervals that are very dissonant. Etc. So that's hiding in fear. Bar 8, fighting for your life, bar 10. This is exactly the same as bar 4, except different notes and a different rhythm. So you can just keep this 8th note pattern going. Again, I would just repeat this until you've learned the form. You'll notice that this in-tempo section, the second one of the etude, is going to be twice as long as this one. I believe that's true. Now I'm doubting myself, but I don't. Just, yeah, anyway, we'll listen, we'll learn from the track. So that's that one. And then here onto our choose your own adventure portion. Let's talk about this high screechy scratchy stuff. There's some like kind of not real notes happening here. We want these notes, believe it or not, to be out of tune. We do not want in tune notes for this top line at bar 14. String teachers, some of you are going to be like, great, we're ready. And some with excellent students are going to actually have to say, try to play not in tune. And if you get a whole group, a whole room full of students playing way up here somewhere, ooh, that's real creepy. Okay, the second line, reverse attack, sudden and brutal bow stops. This rhythm, it doesn't exist. We're out of time here, so there's no counting this. I've just basically tried to imply that we hold this first pitch, starting at pianissimo and crescendoing for some amount of time, and on the very last possible moment of that sustain, we absolutely just kill the sound, basically. We kill all the ring, we stop, and I'm gonna show you how to do this. This imitates, if you've ever heard recordings, old recordings, or recordings that sample other recordings and they have the reversed audio effect. So this is kind of like that. Here's how I would do it. You play, you crescendo, and you try to stop your bow instantly. And the way I like to think of it is if you do basically an overshape and you just go right into the string, go down into the string with your bow. and over, in and stop. And if you get a whole bunch of people doing this, it's really creepy because it's not a normal thing for things to be reversed. We are experiencing time moving forward, but this implies that somehow time is moving backwards, and that's creepy. We've already covered random pitch and tremolo here, and same thing, creepy bugs here. Improvise a solo. This is a great chance for the wild child in your group to just wild out and play anything. There's no scale. Well, there is. There's not really a key, but there is kind of. You can decide how into the harmonies you really want to get. It's basically just D minor and then C sharp minor. But that pattern ascends as you go up, so it does change. Personally, I don't think the notes matter at all for this solo. I think the solo is more about creating a sense of chaos, a sense of total terror, maybe rage. I don't know, something wild. Some kids are going to love this, some kids are not. That's fine. You get to choose which one you do. If you try to do this second line, which is the last thing that we haven't talked about, it matches the da 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 in the violin. I would say try to learn 5 against 2. And again, it's on a pitch that's way up high. The pitch is not important. The point is it's high up. That's what we want to make sure we do. Really just brutal, harsh. And if you can get that string section together on that, that's going to be super awesome. So how you organize this in a group is up to you. You can just assign. Everybody does the top line at bar 14. Everybody does the second line at bar 16. You can assign each line to a different set of players. You can have the kids choose on their own. It's really up to you. So to sum up, there's a lot of extended techniques. The cell notation is basically like sort of a word, sort of a vocabulary item that you can then use. You can decide how you want to use that. Do you repeat it verbatim, or do you continue that idea but changing pitch as you go? There's the random pitch and tremolo, really important. The forte to piano, really extreme dynamics. And basically, you're just trying to tell this story of terror. So I think that's it. Let me check my notes. Right, this brings us to the end of chapter 1. There's a little summary after this etude, Thrust into Chaos. It's a real cliffhanger. I hope it encourages you to go on to chapter 2. So let me get out of this screen share. Thanks so much for watching. That was a lot in that one. Again, I have Zoom cafes where we can hang out, play through some of these in person. I'll answer any of your questions. You can register at nickravell.com/hero-levels. And you can always send me an email at nick@nickravell.com. So hopefully this was helpful. See you in the next one.